Good morning, this fine Monday morning. This morning, we want to look at an initiative that the government is launching this week, tomorrow to be precise. The conscription of thousands of university graduates who are jobless to work as volunteers across the country in different sectors according to the professional lines. And we're joined in the studio this morning by Nixon Korir from the presidency, the youth advisor in the presidency, and the CEO of the National Cohesion and Integration Commission, because this program is designed to enhance national cohesion. So let's see what exactly they're up to. Oh, okay, the CEO of the National Cohesion and Integration Commission, Hassan Mohammed. Karibuni bwana.
Thank you very much.
All right, let's start with you, Nixon. What is the idea?
Okay, this, as you have mentioned, this is a national volunteer program. We are looking at recent university graduates who just finished university and who are not employed yet. We are giving an opportunity to these young people to volunteer and give service to the community as they await employment. And this program is a one-year program where we are looking at graduates who just finished university applying for this program. This program, we will post this recent university to different counties far away from their home counties to volunteer, and we are going to start with the education sector. It's a program that is designed that if you are a medic, you volunteer in a hospital. If you're a lawyer, you volunteer in a court. If you're a teacher, you volunteer in a school. But for the first 1 year, as we pilot the program and set the systems running, we want these volunteers, these young people to volunteer in primary schools, because it is the lowest education infrastructure, is the lowest system, the infrastructure that we have in our country, in terms of it reach more people at the grassroots. So these volunteers will assist in schools.
So essentially, you're recruiting teachers. First of all, these are graduate teachers.
No, these are not graduate teachers. We have lawyers, we have engineers, we have veterinary officers.
But you've just said, using the education infrastructure,
yes,
which is the institutional mechanism. You're posting them to education institutions.
For the first year, for the piloting, we are posting them to the primary schools.
Which means if I'm a doctor, I'm going to teach.
No, not necessarily
so
teaching.
So what graduates? I mean, these
yes,
are education graduates.
Yes.
First.
Yes.
The first year.
Yes. No, the first year we are recruiting everyone, the engineers, the doctors. We want these graduates to mentor the young kids. We want the young kids to see who's a doctor, who's an engineer, who's a lawyer. But while they're at school, they will do other activities beyond just interacting with the students. They will interact with the members of the community and mobilize the members of the community on the importance of education, therefore increasing the number of children that join schools, for example. They will interact with the members of the community and educate them on importance of...
Let me ask you this.
Yes.
Has anybody written anything about that? Is there any curriculum, a blueprint that is thought out, which everybody will follow? A concept that is thought out, written,
and then
yes, we have a steering committee. We have committees that has been working on this program. It is involving all the sectors. We have private sector involved. We have development partners involved. We have education sector involved. For example, we've done manuals, training manuals and curriculums done by KICD, Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development, TAC. We've involved NAT. We've involved private sector, and they've been sitting with us for since last year October on developing the design and the concept of this program.
There was nothing about it known in the public domain. There was no public participation about the whole notion. Well, experts and stakeholders perhaps were consulted. But in terms of engaging the public about the nobility of this whole initiative, how far was that done?
Of course, we have engaged them. For example, I will tell you the design of this program is that we are working with the county governments. We've had engagement with the different counties on this program. We did the chair of the Council of Governors on Education Sector, for example. Before we started even rolling the design of this program, we had a meeting with Dr. Cleophas Lagat, who engaged the county governments. We have committees. For the 8 counties, we are going to pilot this program in 8 counties. We have committees in the 8 counties. That is Kilifi, Machakos, Garissa, West Pokot, Samburu, Busia, and Kisumu, that are working on the design of how this program can be made can educate the members of the community on the importance of this program, because we're engaging parents. The design of the program is that these volunteers will be going to homestays, for example, and therefore we wanted we wanted to get from all the stakeholders.
The president is launching that project tomorrow or
On Wednesday.
On Wednesday,
yes.
And like Makali said, what is the extent of public participation and knowledge about it?
I can say we are fairly doing well in terms of, for example, we advertised for this program, for the volunteers who applied for this program. Like a month ago, we put on the national dailies about the program that we are intending to do, a national volunteer program, and we got 8,000 applicants. Yeah.
Well, the first I heard about this is when the Deputy President announced at a certain public event that teachers are going to be deployed as volunteers. And the first we heard was Kenya National Union of Teachers Association saying, no, our teachers are not going to be volunteers. But now this concept seems to have been turned around to, it's a bigger thing than, so to speak, is known to the ordinary person. You know, let's say, because you've been with it from the beginning, give us a whole, you know, outline of what it's, where it starts and where it's going, and the whole concept, conceptually, so that the public can actually get on board this.
Okay, this program, as I had indicated, we are looking at recent
and the objective, yes. Yeah.
The objective of this program is one. The most important objective is national cohesion. So we are getting graduates who just finished university to volunteer in different sectors. But for now, Makali, is just education. We are setting up the system, we are setting up the structures, and we say let us focus in one sector that is diverse, a sector that is reaching almost every part of this country, and that is the education system. These volunteers will go and volunteer, as I have indicated. The most important objective is national cohesion, and therefore the first qualification of the volunteers is that you will volunteer far away from your home county and interact with other communities, interact with other cultures, interact with other environment other than your home. As the CEO had indicated earlier, in Kenya right now, because it has been made worse by the devolution, we are having regional Kenyans. Someone who grows up in Eldoret, goes to school in Eldoret, go to university in Eldoret, get job in Eldoret, marry in Eldoret, and dies in Eldoret. We want these volunteers, we want to expose them to different cultures. We want someone from Eldoret to go and work and volunteer in Mombasa, stay in a family and get attachment to that community, and identify a family there that they stay for 1 year, and actually call that family home. These volunteers will be doing other activities, as I indicated, not necessarily teaching. They are not going to deliver on the curriculum.
What are they going to do?
One, they are going to be mentors for these young children. They are going to...
Has that been inculcated into the education system, the curriculum and the whole education system?
In fact, that is being worked on right now, and I think Ministry of Education is appreciating the fact that we need remedial, the issue of remedial learning, and the teachers, the volunteers will assist the teachers. If a teacher, for example, Makali, there are some things that you do at home when your child come back from school. You teach them 1 + 1 is equals to 2. You don't need a scientist to do that.
Yes.
2 + 2 is equals to 4. And if a teacher tells a volunteer, please assist that student to read 1, 2, 3, then the volunteer will assist that student to read 1, 2, 3, but not delivering on the curriculum. Number 2, the volunteers will be doing other projects.
Let me interrupt. Have you identified the schools?
Yes, we have identified the schools.
The primary schools are going to go?
Yes.
And you have informed the principals or teachers?
We even had a meeting with the 200 head teachers that we are going to pilot this program with at the Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development, a 1-day workshop, which we took them through the entire program. Of course, there are committees at the county level that is working on this program. So I was just saying the design of the program is that these volunteers will volunteer far away from their home county. They will do whatever they are doing around the community, mobilizing members of the community on the importance of education, educating them, for example, on HIV schemes.
How does a graduate mobilize the community? You know, Chief, how do you call them and tell them?
In a place where you are not
even
first place.
How do you mobilize the community?
The education ambassadors, I've been invited severally to different parts of this country.
Let's bring in Mohammed here a little, because perhaps this issue is a little more complicated.
Yes.
Hussein, Hassan rather. Where do you come into this, and what preparatory engagements have happened to the extent that you are in this program?
Okay. First of all, National Cohesion Integration Commission has been targeting the youth for some time. The youth in schools and the youth out of schools. We have been thinking of programs to target them. And for the youth in schools, what we have done is that we have worked with the Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development to input cohesion and integration in the curriculum. We trained actually about 150 curriculum developers. And then now we are rolling out something called the Amani clubs, peace clubs.
Peace clubs.
Yes, we have the guidelines and what, and we are rolling it out to the schools. So this was a good opportunity for us to get hold of the youth out of school now, and people especially who will become leaders tomorrow. For some time now we have bred leaders whom, as Korir said, whom we call the 25-mile radius Kenyan, who just know about the area, go to primary school in the area, go to a secondary school near the area, go to a university which is very close, because these days we have universities everywhere, even in the villages. And then you get a job either in a company which is in near your area or the county government. Now what you know about other people is just through stereotypes, that such a community is like this and like that. But you have never really been exposed to those people. Unlike those of us who went to school many years ago. I remember our former chairman, Zalendo Kibunje, who came from Tharaka and went to secondary school in Mumias. So nobody can tell him that Luyas are bad people or that Bukusus eat people or anything like that. I mean, those stereotypes. So this program gives us a chance to get hold of youth so that they can be able to, as future leaders tomorrow. And there will be many of them. This is a big opportunity for us. It's 30,000 people, 30,000 future leaders who are going to be exposed to other cultures.
Hussein, you know that the Constitution and the National Integration Act, I think, tries to enforce the national image. Even institutions, public institutions, are required to hire a certain number of people from outside that community and the county. Is that being done in the first place? My assessment is that we have failed terribly in accomplishing that particular objective. Two, we are trying to intervene at the top level when we have left the school level, where you are saying the problem lies because of the 25-kilometer radius. Admissions and everything is still being done local. You're not trying to get something to come and cure a problem that's existing. Why don't we tackle the problem at the source?
I think admissions have changed now. We influenced actually the Ministry of Education so that the quota system, the 80% from the provinces is done away with, and that is actually happening now. We have more national schools now, so people are being taken from their homes to other places. We are reverting back to the old system. As far as the issue of equality of opportunity and diversity in the institutions are concerned, we are working on that, and one of the first things we did as a commission was to carry out ethnic audits of the public service, of the universities, and now we are actually finalizing on the parastatals to ensure that the National Cohesion Integration Act is complied with. The National Cohesion Integration Act requires that 1/3 of the workers from any establishment, not more than 1/3, come from one ethnic group. So we are trying to work on that. We actually gave that information to the government at that time, to the Equal Opportunities Committee, and they summoned all the ministers, and now the Public Service Commission has now, that's part of its criteria. We also worked with at that time, the Minister for Education, Margaret Kamar, and I remember she summoned all the chancellors, vice chancellors in Naivasha. And one of the first things which was agreed upon, there are a number of recommendations which were agreed upon. For example, in 5 years' time, they are going to try and reduce some of these inequalities, because you are not going to sack Kenyans who are already there. But as natural attrition takes place, then you are going to be able to improve that balance.
But is that being adhered to? If you look at the universities, in public universities, for instance, in local areas, you find the vice chancellor is from the local area.
Yes, yes.
And if they bring a different person, the community, I remember sometimes in Masai, in Narok, they brought a vice chancellor who is not Masai. There was a hue and cry. this is our university, we want our man. Surely, a university is not a village polytechnic.
You're right. Actually, that's what Margaret Kamar did. What she did is that if the vice chancellor comes from that area, the chairperson must come from another area. She started with that actually, and she has managed to do that. But I know there is that entitlement. People thought that because most of these universities were given by at that time politically. So it was some kind of entitlement.
Community reward.
Yes, community reward. So if this university comes here, it is ours and everybody has. But we are trying to work on that, and we are telling them the law is like this. The other thing we are working on is for the counties, for example. We are not going to enforce the National Cohesion Integration Act. Instead, there is another conflicting act which is called the County Governments Act.
Yes.
And the County Government Act requires 70%, 70-30 rule, that you must not exceed more than 70%
local
from the dominant group.
Dominant communities.
Yes, and right now what we have done is to do an ethnic audit of all the counties. We have just received all the information, and I think we have received about 42 from 42 counties, and we are going back to them to verify that information and to discuss with them how they are going to improve the situation, because this is going to be gradual. One of the problems that's happening is that they have inherited local authority staff, county councils and municipal councils, who all come from the dominant groups. But gradually they'll be able to improve on that situation, because we are telling them this is the law and you have to implement the law eventually.
Okay. Let's get back to the vexatious issue of the graduate volunteer program, which is, it's looks like quite a bit of stuff is not in place. Before I get back to you, Nixon, where is this going to be best? What is the home of this project, of this volunteer program?
Apart from
who is implementing agency?
I did it for you, for your own.
How do you interact? At what point does National Cohesion Integration Commission come into a project?
It's an interagency activity, sort of. Of course, it is the Ministry of Education and Korir's department, but there is collaboration, interagency, sort of, so that every agency takes its bit. For example, the National Cohesion Integration Commission takes the bit of cohesion and integration. For the training now, which is going on in Garissa, for the last 2 weeks, we have had 3 officers taking them through such concepts as cohesion, nationhood, patriotism, challenges to cohesion and whatnot.
Nixon, yes.
So that as they go out, they are prepared, And
yes.
then this program is designed in a way that it will be run by a trust. This trust will involve the members.
Trust?
Yes, a trust. The design of the
government trust?
It will be a trust that has the government part, has the private sector, has all the stakeholders.
Well, I don't understand why you're saying will. I suppose now the president is going to launch the thing.
Something must have been prepared, ready to roll out to everybody.
I expect you to tell me this trust is composed of the chairman so and so, the secretary so and so, and the members of the trust. These are the ones.
Yes.
Why use the one will?
You see, Mutegi, is that this program we are piloting right now. It is the first 1 year is a pilot stage, and as I indicated, this program will be run by a trust. Because I'm saying this because the government will commit certain percentage of the total budget of the program. The private sector is going to commit certain percentage. The development partners, stakeholders, all stakeholders, the NCIC will be on board, and managed by a trust outside the Ministry of Education. But for now, because we are using the infrastructure of the Ministry of Education, we are babysitting this program until it starts. So
how is it running? I mean, even that trust.
What is the president going to launch?
What is it called? It doesn't exist. It's prospective. A trust will be formed one day.
What the president?
Yeah, because it doesn't exist. The president is going to launch something
which
that is not existing, but is a pilot.
Now we are piloting a national volunteer program, as I indicated earlier. This national volunteer program, we are piloting it until the systems are set and running under the education sector. Yeah. This program right now is funded fully by the government of Kenya. But we are anticipating that from the 2nd year, 3rd year, 4th year going, we will have development and other partners coming on board. And we also want them to be part of the management of this program. And therefore, it will only be fair that this program moves from government to a trust that has all the stakeholders on board.
Why can't it be run by the government fully within the Ministry of Education? You are from the Ministry of?
No, I'm from the.
You are from the Office of the President.
Yes.
implementation of the project is going to be within the infrastructure of the Ministry of Education, because schools are involved, staffing, all those issues, and hosting. Then you are saying it's going to be implemented by a trust again. Why can't it be implemented by the Ministry of Education?
It cannot be Ministry of Education because it is going to move beyond Ministry of Education. It is going to move to health sector. It is going to move to legal field. It is going to move to other sectors.
And there are also other stakeholders.
Yes.
The private sector, the
yes, because right now we are dealing with only education, because it will be all professions,
Yes.
doctors, engineers,
and
architects.
we need the private sector, for example, because I mean, what is the exit strategy for these volunteers, for example? Do you want them to volunteer after 1 year? They go back home. We are saying that we want to involve the private sector and development partners so that as this volunteer graduate from this program, midway to this program, the design of the program is midway to the program, we have a career fair with the private sector, mobilized and organized by the private sector. We'll have shared the CVs of these volunteers with the private sector. If you are an engineer, we'll have shared your CV to Samsung, Toyota, for example. If you're an ICT person, we'll have shared to Safaricom and other ICT fields, so that we want to make this program a very prestigious program, in that it's like the American Peace Corps, for example. The American Peace Corps, we're having volunteers from America right now in this country. We're having volunteers from Europe under the VSO program. We're having volunteers from Japan under their program. And yet we don't have a program, a national volunteer program as a country. Are you getting it? There are countries with robust program like Nigeria, like Ghana, and these programs have brought their country together. And we are saying that we want to involve all the sectors, the development partners, the private sector, so that they feel part of the program and they run the program. We want, for example, the private sector to say, what is the caliber of the volunteers you're having? And they say, when we are getting our employees, we are looking at 1, 2, 3. So that when we are recruiting the volunteers, we also look at that 1, 2, 3 that the private sector is looking for.
Tell us about the remuneration, the allowances they get, and how they're supposed to survive.
In fact, there is a question that has come in. Maybe I should just take, before he answers that, I can take some feedback also from our viewers. Of course, you can participate in this discussion by, sending us an SMS on 22422, and then we'll share your perspectives. Or you can tweet power_breakfast, and then we'll get your feedback to Mr. Nixon Korir, who is the Youth Affairs Advisor, Secretary in the Deputy President's Office under the Presidency, and Mr. Hussein Mohammed, who is the CEO of the National Cohesion Integration Commission. We are discussing our graduate... Hassan Mohammed, who is the CEO of the National Cohesion Integration Commission. We're discussing the new program being launched on Wednesday by the President of volunteer graduates to go to serve in various parts of the country along their career lines, but starting with education, which we are starting with today. Now, a question comes in. In fact, somebody says, are these volunteers going to be paid any amount for upkeep? You'll address that, of course. You mentioned much earlier before we began our discussion. But there is quite a bit of skepticism about the whole project. David Almutegi, this is another Jubilee knee-jerk money guzzler project headed for failure. You'll notice your question on the conceptualization is not being clearly answered. That's Hezron. Then that volunteer program, again, is an unstarter. Jobless graduate cannot mentor. He's still struggling. The program has no design, no focus, appears totally confused. It is not tenable, Another one says the churches would have been an easy entry for community penetration for the volunteers. Have they included that as an option? And so on. I'll read you other feedback, as we go ahead. But, deal with the recruitment of the first pioneer team that you're talking about. How are they selected? And what are the what is the composition of the qualification, and how are they going to be remunerated as they volunteer? You mentioned some amount.
Okay. We advertised this program. We got 8,000 applicants. Of course, we were saying we are looking for recent graduates. Out of the 8,000 applicants, very many of them were diploma holders, they were certificate holders, and very many of them had passed through. We had an age bracket of 18 to 30, because we are looking at just recent graduates. You can only be
18 to 30.
Yeah, to 30.
You have not mentioned degree. So degree.
Yeah, we mentioned in the
you said
application.
Diploma and certificate.
Recent university graduates who just finished.
What is the distribution like? How many are these universities? How many are university graduates? How many are diploma? Are they from private? Are they from public institutions?
No, it was.
What is the composition?
So long as you're a Kenyan and you're a degree holder, It doesn't have to be from public or private. We are looking for degrees holders. We are looking for Kenyans, young Kenyans who are between the age of 18 and 30 who are willing to volunteer. We got 8,000 applicants. Out of the 8,000 applicants, the eligible one were 2,000 who had their degrees and who just finished the university. Out of the 2,000, we had a committee with all the representation from the private sector, from development.
Which private sector representation do you have?
KEPSA, we have KEPSA representation. We have development partners. We have NAT, TSC, all the education stakeholders, because we wanted to have a whole inclusive committee that sat in the Kenya School of Government, went through the 2,000 applicants. They shortlisted 400 successful candidates. Then we had face-to-face interviews that were conducted in Mombasa, they were conducted in Embu, in Kisumu, in Eldoret, and in Nakuru, and in Nairobi, of course, where we selected we were looking for the first 200, a cohort of 200 for the purpose of the training and the launch. But by January, we'll be having another cohort of 1,400 applicants, because we are looking at 1,600 volunteers in the first year. 1,600, that will be dispatched to 8 counties. That is 200 volunteers per county. These volunteers will get a stipend. It's just a small, because they are volunteers, they are going to get a stipend of 9,000 shillings every month. 3,000 will go to the family, the host family, because they will be staying in homestays. They will go to the family, and then 6,000 to the volunteer.
And is that 6,000 worth anything? I mean, 6,000, what do you do with 6,000?
What we are looking at...
You are eating at home, somebody's home.
Yes.
But in terms of movement, in terms of...
The design of this program is that we are getting homestays around the school, not far from the school.
Who is finding the homestays? Did people apply to host the volunteers?
The design is
and where did you find the willing hosts, and how have you deployed them around the country, or which counties or which areas?
First, we identify the 8 counties that
you have named them, yes.
Yeah, which have named them.
Yeah.
From these 8 counties, we formed committees that will assist in running this program at the county level. This committee is headed by the executive in charge of education at the county government, and the county director of education at the county government. And then we have the stakeholders. We have the church representation, we have the head teachers representation, we have the TSC, we have the NAT, we have the community leaders at that level. We came up with the rules that governs the identification of the schools first. We identify the schools that the volunteers will be attached to. The committees assisted us in identifying the schools, the schools that are, we are not
that
looking,
need help.
yeah, no, not needing help. The schools that are not in town. You know, we are talking of national cohesion, and we are talking of exposure. You know, if you bring someone to Nairobi, and
you're doing schools that are not, you're doing rural schools.
Yeah, rural schools that are not very far from town for the purpose of management, but also not in town. So they assisted us in identifying the schools. The head teachers of the schools knows the parents around that area. We gave the application for homestays to the head teachers. The head teachers dispatched a caller meeting with the teachers and the parents, and gave them these applications for the homestays. Then families applied. The committee identified a subcommittee that vets these families, to look at these families if they have any violent records, if they are drunkards, if they have an extra room for the volunteers, for example, and if they are willing to take these volunteers. Then they sign a contract to say that we are willing to take these volunteers to stay with us.
Now, give us a rundown. If I'm not a teacher, maybe a lawyer, then I'm taken to stay with this parent. I wake up in the morning, I go to school. I go to do what? In the school. When I go to the school, what do I do? I go and talk to the headmaster, then he gives me a class to teach. What do I do the whole day?
No, it's not.
No, they are not going to teach.
What are they going to do? That's what I'm asking. I'm a lawyer, volunteered, taken to some school in Isiolo, wherever. Not near town.
So they are not going to teach.
Yeah.
So what will I do?
They can help in remedial, as Korir said, the teacher, the normal teacher will teach.
Yes.
But for these children to be helped,
their students, those are lagging behind.
Yes, they will be helped by this volunteer.
The teacher will tell this volunteer.
So the program is pegged as at this pilot phase on primary schools.
Yes.
Why not high schools?
Because, Mutegi, most high schools are boarding schools, for example. We are looking at an institution that the volunteer can interact with the community directly.
Is this to expose the volunteer to nationalism, national, cohesion?
Yes.
I want to put myself in let me ask you a simple
Both.
question. I'll be very bored.
Yes.
A young lawyer, aged 25, just graduated in law school. I'm taken to a private school, I'm not employed. I will not go to court because I just came from law school. I am going to a private school. To do what?
You see, as Korir said, this is just an entry point.
There will
The
be other
schools are-
career areas.
I'll be very
Yes,
bored.
there will be other
No,
career
there
areas.
will be other career areas. There
Meanwhile,
will also be other work,
I'm
voluntarism.
I'm thinking about this first initial.
Yes.
These 200 people.
Yes.
One of them is that lawyer I'm thinking about. You take him to a primary school.
Yes.
I live somewhere in the home. Isn't he going to be terribly bored, going to do remedial in standard 2 or standard 8? What?
You
The whole day?
You see, Mutegi, it's not about the whole day just
That's
sitting.
what I'm asking. Do we have a curriculum?
Even the
Do we have a
teacher.
timetable?
Yes.
What will he do?
We're having a curriculum that was developed by the Kenya Institute of Curricular Development, and with all the stakeholders involved, of what this volunteer will be doing. The other activities beyond class.
Which are?
The other activities like when the child is at school, it is not sitting in the class the whole day. For example.
Maybe go and teach PE?
Yeah, there is PE, for example. The other activities beyond there is music classes. There is interactions with the members of the community.
Yeah.
There is mentoring, talking to the students, just talking to the students and say, I also started here. Now I'm a lawyer. Yeah.
But I think they will also use their initiative. As
Yes.
they are there, they can find other things to do within the community. Because they will do probably the remedial teaching in about 1 or so hours or 2 hours. And then after that, they can help the community because they are part of the community.
And you see,
So
these are
I
two-way
think as they
benefits.
when they go there, then they will design probably some of their programs. I think what we are giving them is a generic program. But when they go there now, they will refine those programs so that within every community, they know what to do to help that.
Who will be monitoring them in case they misbehave, this graduate?
We're having a monitoring mechanism. We're having the committee is set at the county level. We're having 2 officers deployed by the program to every county to do the monitoring of the volunteers. The education system also, the county director of education and the system that they've been using to monitor the education outcomes, they'll be also doing the monitoring. So I think, and we'll be having visits by the national steering committee. There'll be the officers that will be dispatched to monitor the way the progress is going, and there are targets that will be given to these volunteers. For example, I said initially that it is not a one-way thing. It is not only benefiting the child at the primary school and the community. It is actually benefiting the volunteer himself because he's getting exposure and getting to understand this country better. It's not just about, if you're coming from Nairobi, that this country is not about Nairobi only. It is benefiting the community, and it is benefiting the child down there.
In situations where the student finds it incompatible, what is the exit system set?
We have the mechanism for exit. For example, I was just telling Mutegi that there are volunteers. Makali, that there are volunteers already who are saying who got jobs. For example, they just started the programs and they got jobs. We wouldn't want to force a volunteer, a graduate, to stay for the entire program, and we also want to recognize that this person was willing to volunteer, but he got a job. Are you getting it? There is a mechanism through that the officers that are being to be deployed, if the volunteer feels that he wants to exit, we won't force them to stay in the program. There will be an exit strategy for these volunteers. Even the parents, for example, the family, we won't force a family to stay with a volunteer. But we also don't want a family that throws a volunteer overnight. There is a procedure, a one-week procedure or a 2 weeks procedure of writing and saying, I am not compatible with this volunteer, or I'm not compatible with this family, I would want to move to another family. And such arrangements are made.
So why is it being styled as a graduate? It's not discriminatory. It is, what are the levels of graduates you're looking at, if we call
First
that
graduates,
graduate?
yeah.
We're looking at certificate holders,
Degree holders.
only degree.
Yes, for now. You'll appreciate the fact that you have to start somewhere.
Yeah,
So we are looking
the
at
people being admitted to this volunteerism are only degree holders.
Yes.
Okay. And then people are saying that why would we deploy you know, people, why don't we just get people who are trained in education to deploy them to the schools instead of other, you know, professions, people who have
Then
done
we-
other
then
things.
if we do that,
as
we will be recruiting
Korir
teachers.
said,
Huh?
the aim also is cohesion and integration. So how are you going to leave out the doctors
Yes.
and the lawyers?
Does it
and
mean that the
whatnot?
doctors
Does
does
it
not
mean
need
only
exposure?
teachers are the ones who need the exposure?
In this particular phase,
Yes.
that's the problem, because we are deploying people who are not teachers to schools. Yet you said the whole program conceptualization is that you have different professions. You'll get volunteers in architecture, medicine, doctors, lawyers to go to be deployed. Will they be deployed along the professional lines, or will intermix them into areas that are not their specialty?
No, we'll
That's the whole
we'll
conceptual
deploy them
point.
along their professional line, but you'll also appreciate the fact that,
That, what is the philosophy? Along professional lines or interdisciplinary? Because if you've started on an interdisciplinary note, like now, you're getting people who are not trained in teaching or have anything to do with education to be sent to primary schools. When you get, and then you are saying that people will be recruited along the professional lines and deployed. If you're a doctor, you can volunteer perhaps in hospitals or clinics. Or what is the conceptual philosophy?
for now, as I indicated, is that we are recruiting people from different disciplines to volunteer in schools.
In schools.
For the piloting and for the setting up of the systems and the structures for this program, and testing and getting to learn what are the mistakes that we are doing, what are the right things that we are doing, so that as we move forward, as the program grows, you'll appreciate that it is growing from 1,600 to 2,000 to 3,200 to 4,000 to 5,000. You don't want to make a mistake when you have already 10,000 volunteers on the ground. We want to make the mistakes that needs to be made right now when the program is still young and correct them as quick as possible. But growing, and when the program is growing, then we move, the volunteers will now move to their disciplines. If you're a lawyer, you volunteer in a court. If you're a doctor, you volunteer in a hospital. But for now, even for now, Makali,
Yes.
these volunteers, the volunteerism, these are the young guys will benefit from interacting directly. For example, I told you when I was young, when I was in primary school, I never saw a lawyer, for example. I never saw a doctor. And I thought maybe doctors or lawyers or engineers are different people from us.
Yeah.
We want them to interact now with these volunteers
Yeah.
and actually tell them we also grew up and we were in the same environment and you can actually make it to
Okay.
mentor this.
In
these
fact,
young-
Yes,
a number of
sir.
schools are making efforts now to bring in mentors.
Yes.
It's already happening in some places.
Mentors program, yes.
Yeah, they get somebody like Makali who went to a village school somewhere there and is now a very, serious journalist and they become role models for those people.
Mm.
So that's one of the things. I think secondly,
Yeah.
what they are going to do in the schools doesn't require a lot of skills as a teacher.
Yes.
Because even ourselves, some of the teachers who taught us many years ago
Yes.
were
Were not
untrained
trained.
teachers.
Yes, yes.
They were graduates who did not go back for the diploma in education and whatnot.
Yes.
So those basic skills, remedial things which they are supposed to do,
yeah.
it doesn't really require a lot of teaching skills.
Okay.
Although they are going to be in that training now, which they are carrying out in the 2 weeks,
yeah.
they're going to be given some little basic
yeah.
training or how to handle children and whatnot.
The counter-argument, Nixon,
Yes.
is this. Somebody called Zainuddin Ali from Mombasa says, the best solution, well, he is approaching it from a shortage of education staff, is to give the education sector, ministry, a bigger share in the budget so that you can, instead of deploying resources on the sidelines, why not fund the education better? That is a suggestion there. Two, somebody else also comes up with a proposal here. Why not send the same people to National Youth Service to do their training there and then send them as volunteers? We've just seen a relaunch of NYS with the grand plans different from this, again, running parallel apparently.
On the first question, then we are missing the point. On the first question, that person is assuming that we are actually taking these volunteers to cover up for the shortage of teachers. We are not doing that. This is a national volunteer program. It is not aimed at teaching. It is a program that is aimed at exposing the volunteer, the graduate, to different environment and diversity in this country so that they can get to appreciate this country better, so that tomorrow when they are leaders, they can appreciate that there is a semi-desert in this country, there is a highland in this country, there's a place in this country which is not accessible. And when you're a leader, you know that this country is diverse, there are different cultures, the stereotypes the CEO was talking about, we want to finish them. I mean, we must have a program that deals with that. For example, he was talking about, when I was young, I was told Bokusu eat people. Do they eat people, Makali?
I have
Do
not
they?
heard of that.
I have not heard of anyone who has been eaten.
Is this program 4 years or 1 year?
It's a one-year program.
It's a one-year program.
Throughout. There is no time that the graduate will volunteer for 4 years. It's only 1 year.
No, it's a 1-year volunteer program. It's a program that is running.
After that?
No, the next year, you mean the life of the program?
No, as a volunteer. How long do you volunteer?
You volunteer for 1 year.
1 year.
And I said that you volunteer for 6 months when you stay with the families and interact with the schools. We'll have a career fair. That career fair will mobilize members of the
private
the
sector
partners,
and potential employers.
Yeah, potential employers. The potential employers will identify successful candidates from the program. Then the last 6 months of the program, you'll be attached now to the companies and industries that fit in to your career.
If they take you up.
If they take you up. To the
Some
career.
may not be taken up. What happens to those? You go back to joblessness.
No,
Or
we
you
are
extend
working.
your internship.
We are working very hard to ensure that at least you'll have a certificate to show that you are volunteer.
You did it.
And we have
Because it will be in your CV that you are volunteer, and a lot of employers these days they recognize people.
And the Ministry of Labour and Social Services is now working on a national volunteer policy. You'll appreciate that we didn't have a policy before.
Your feedback, just to take some good people saying, I am one of the graduate volunteers in Garissa in training right now. I'm happy to be part of this program. I am proudly serving my country and glad to contribute to national cohesion. That is Alice Maina. There's somebody else who says they are there, they've been deployed. They're going to, let me see whether I can get that. I am one of the volunteers going to West Pokot. We have received world-class training and are ready to enhance national cohesion and integration in the nation. That one is called Fabian, is from Garissa. So they are at Garissa.
Yeah, what is
happening there?
What's happening is that the successful candidates, when you're successful, you go for a 2 weeks training. This 2 weeks training, you'll be trained on entrepreneurship, on national cohesion. We have officers from the NCIC in Garissa. We are trained on national. We have officers who have been sent by private sector, Safaricom, Samsung, to go and train them on entrepreneurship. We are training them on life skills, on leadership, and they are being trained. There is a manual that I was talking about that has been developed by the ministry, by the KICD. Of course, it's a manual by that is developed by this program that is going to guide them on what they are supposed to do and what they are not supposed to do while they are volunteering.
Yeah.
So they are taking on a rigorous training on about the 4 issues. So they are in Garissa. They have been in Garissa for the last 2 weeks right now.
You said your role was there at Garissa. Your people are training.
Yeah.
In the process of the internship or volunteerism, what will be your role?
Yes, we will still work with the other teams. Of course, on the ground, the education officers and also will be following up. And a lot of these education officers are handling also the issue of cohesion and integration. But we are going to work on a system where we will follow up so that we see how these people are faring in terms of cohesion and integration in those areas, how they are integrating. For example, a new graduate who has never heard about, like this person who was mentioned there, probably from Central or Nyanza province, I just seen on TV Pokot swearing, whatever, or Pokot's killing Turkanas or Turkanas killing. I mean, all they know is about cattle rustling and whatnot. So, but when they go there, they will appreciate that these are human beings. These are people who, Kenyans who have their own livelihoods and who are struggling in their own life. These are just a few things which are sometimes highlighted, but there are other things they can learn about those communities.
Do you know an organization called PODE, an NGO?
PODE?
Yes.
I've heard about it.
They have not worked with you?
Yes.
We've worked with them before?
No,
okay.
Yes.
All right. The good complimentary things, negative things, criticism about the preparation for this program, it seems to people saying it's a good idea, others saying it's not been thought through properly. The challenges here, questions asking about where it's being hosted, and the suspicion that this is another, in fact, somebody said this is a knee-jerk reaction again to fool the youth, which Jubilee promised. They promised them jobs, now they're giving them volunteer. Is this an avenue to conscript more youth, that this is a political program? All these claims, I don't know what you have to say in summary about the whole intention of this project, where it's going and how it's being managed, or what to expect.
Okay, Makali, what I can say is that this is a very good program. I wish I had an opportunity to have such a program, because not everyone, not very many young people have an opportunity like mine, where I can visit Mombasa, I can go to Turkana, I can go to Garissa, I can go to Kisumu and get to appreciate Kenya. This program is a program that is benefiting almost every sector. The private sector, for example, want to employ people who are exposed, people who can make their decisions, people who have who are diverse in terms of thinking, and these are the people that we are actually making. These are the opportunities that we are giving, so that we have young Kenyans who get to appreciate their country better. The volunteers, of course, are benefiting in that sense, that they are getting exposure, they are getting training, they are getting. We are hoping that the private sector will take them, the development partners, the government also will take them, and it will be an added advantage in terms of getting that certificate that you volunteered for your country. I want to say, Makali, that moving forward, if we have every year 2,000, 3,000 volunteers interacting, going to different parts of this country and getting to live and appreciate other cultures, in 3, 4, 5 years to come, we'll be having Kenyans, 30,000 Kenyans who think differently. We'll be having 40,000 Kenyans who think differently and who are exposed and who get to appreciate this country better. It's about national cohesion.
Why was Garissa chosen?
No, Garissa University was chosen not because of anything, but because of, I mean, we've been doing all the launches and the trainings in Nairobi and in Mombasa, in Kisumu. We wanted a different place so that, you know, this is where when you go to Mandera, when you go to Wajir, when you go to Garissa, they tell you, say hi to Kenya. Yeah. We want to take Kenya to those regions that they have been feeling left out. Yeah, we could have done it in Turkana, we could have done it in West Pokot. It's nothing special. It's just going to Garissa. Why not Garissa?
Well, I think we have to end it there. Somebody says a graduate is already exposed to other cultures. They do that at the university. Should they be deployed as volunteers to learn about other cultures? You have a lot of challenges, I'm sure. That is just to to sum up the feedback. There are a lot of people optimistic that this volunteer program will help to create opportunities for young people and enhance national cohesion, which is the preserve of the mandate of the National Cohesion Integration Commission. We're privileged to have the Chief Executive, Hassan Mohammed, in the studio this morning, and Nixon Korir, thank you very much, from the Deputy President's Office and dealing with youth affairs. Keep on watching Power Breakfast.